It's just kind of who I am. I want to pour into my team as much as possible, and I'm pretty in tune with my body. I can read a room pretty well, and so when I see we're lacking a little bit, you got to step up. But if we're good, you're just there to encourage and give people confidence.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Clark Update. I truly hope you are all having an absolutely amazing day. We have got another incredibly exciting and fascinating story lined up today. If you are a true Caitlin Clark supporter, you will absolutely want to stick around until the very end. Before we get rolling, prove you are part of the Clark Update Army by commenting CC 100% down below. I love reading through all the comments from our incredible Clark supporters. Let us skip the wait and get straight to the action. A monumental, historic shift recently shook up the women's basketball scene. And surprisingly, it did not happen on the court. The entire sports world paused when news broke that Caitlin Clark formally signed a multi-year deal with NBC Universal to be a special contributor for their basketball coverage. This was far bigger than some rookie signing a standard endorsement deal. The media coverage immediately took on a highly negative tone. Still, Clark sent a very clear message to everyone that she can easily remain the biggest icon in all of sports without the WNBA's permission or playing in their new unparalleled offseason league. But as the WNBA hierarchy reacted with their usual icy silence, one prominent player decided to break ranks. The Phoenix Mercury's own Sophie Cunningham, who often gets cast as the villain in the Caitlin Clark story, seems to have had quite enough of the fake drama. If you are enjoying this, please hit that like button and subscribe. Would you believe that over 85% of our viewers still have not subscribed? It is totally free and takes just a second, but it helps immensely. So, did you hit that subscribe button yet? Wonderful. We truly appreciate your support. Now, let us get back to the action. Through several subtle moves and comments that went completely ignored by major media outlets, Cunningham has targeted the blatant hypocrisy tearing the league apart from the inside out. She is exposing the locker room politics, bad financial decisions, and deep resentment threatening the biggest financial asset the game has ever seen. Say, you have to understand the massive weight of Caitlin Clark's move to realize why Sophie Cunningham is losing her patience. For decades, the path for WNBA athletes was set in stone. The league simply does not pay enough for even marquee stars to live comfortably. Then, it is off to Russia, Turkey, or China to earn a living. Or, in recent years, you bow to peer pressure and sign up for those official, league-approved off-season tournaments. Clark threw that old script right into the trash. Thanks to her NBC deal, she will debut at Madison Square Garden and feature on Sunday Night Football and Big Ten Saturday night broadcasts. But she will not be chasing loose balls in a sweaty jersey. Instead, she will be sitting in a sleek blazer alongside legends like Carmelo Anthony and Vince Carter. No woman in basketball has ever crossed over like this so early in her career. She is positioning herself not just as a WNBA athlete, but as a true peer to the most famous male sports figures on earth. Meanwhile, the dead silence from the WNBA front office speaks volumes. They know they are completely losing their grip on her. And Sophie Cunningham is reacting directly to that anxious defensive silence. The drama surrounding the highly anticipated unparalleled league provides the perfect backdrop for this entire conflict. Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier, two major superstars and top-tier union officials, put together this new 3-on-3 competition. During their aggressive recruitment pitch, they reportedly offered Clark over $1 million in equity and a deal mirroring Lionel Messi's groundbreaking Miami contract. Behind closed doors, the pressure on her was immense. A toxic narrative formed, whispering that if Clark did not join, she was failing to support the sisterhood. Critics expected her to use her massive fame to boost their startup's revenue. The league's old guard grew deeply resentful the second Clark turned them down to sign with NBC instead. It felt like an outright betrayal. But here is the twist. As a veteran who knows how the business works, Sophie Cunningham sees this as a smart business move. Cunningham is fully aware of the potential conflicts of interest brewing within the unparalleled league. An awkward and potentially unfair power dynamic emerges when active players run a league and pressure others to join. By resisting, Clark showed she cannot be bought or bullied. For the last 12 months, the media has desperately tried to manufacture a bitter blood feud between Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. They constantly replay clips of physical altercations, heavy trash talk, and crushing screens to paint Cunningham as an enforcer sent to break the rookie. Make no mistake, Sophie plays a highly physical game. Her brand off the court is undeniable. making Sophie one of the most brilliant business minds in the entire league. Cunningham was the only one keeping it real, while other veterans stayed busy bashing podcasts and claiming Clark lacked actual talent. During the whole charter flight controversy, Cunningham openly admitted that Caitlin Clark was the sole reason they finally stopped flying commercial. She completely shattered the myth that the league was growing on its own. When credit was earned, she handed it over. The league is happy to pocket the cash Clark generates, but refuses to show her basic respect. That seems to be fueling her latest frustration. Cunningham is basically asking, are you people serious? Walking through the locker rooms, she sees the massive TV deals, the packed arenas, and those chartered flights. She knows exactly who paid for it. That makes Cunningham's reaction to the NBC news incredibly critical. The media desperately wants to paint her with that same bitter brush. They want her to say Clark has no business working for NBC, but Cunningham refuses to play along. Instead, she targets the broken system and the haters. She knows that a rising tide lifts every single boat in the harbor. Once the season starts, having Caitlin Clark dominate NBC airwaves means millions of new eyeballs watching the actual WNBA games. Cunningham is calling out how blind her jealous peers really are. Her message is simple: let her get paid, because that money benefits all of us. This bold move breaks the silent code of conduct veterans usually stick to, even when they are flat out wrong. WNBA players almost always stick together in public. Cunningham is bucking the system just to defend common sense, which is honestly a revolutionary act in the cliquey world of the WNBA. Let's take a closer look at how Cunningham accidentally exposed this toxic mean girl culture. Even legendary figures like Cheryl Swoops chimed in, famously trying to erase Clark's collegiate records from history by completely inventing fake statistics. We all witnessed those ugly freeze-outs during the Team USA selection process. There is a very real vibe directed at Clark: you can't sit with us. But by signing that massive NBC deal, Clark didn't just find a new table, she bought the whole damn restaurant. And it seems Cunningham is the only one laughing at the irony. She is out there living her absolute best life, totally unbothered by Clark's massive success, while her fellow players post passive-aggressive messages on social media about loyalty and grind. Her carefree attitude highlights just how small and petty the rest of the league looks right now. Sophie's flat-out refusal to join the bandwagon of hate is why she speaks out. She talks hoops, she talks business. But she is never going to trash the rookie who is literally funding their entire league. Money talks, and Caitlin Clark is screaming. To understand the root of the jealousy Cunningham is calling out, we have to look at the cold, hard numbers. The absolute maximum WNBA salary tops out at about $250,000. Even if that new Super League was offering great money, it still required brutal physical labor. We are talking about grinding at a Miami training camp, risking injury, and working endlessly. According to rumors, she gets a massive payday from NBC that completely dwarfs her WNBA salary without having to break a sweat. She can build her personal brand while sitting in a comfortable studio analyzing the game she loves. Having fought tooth and nail for every contract she ever signed, Cunningham recognizes the pure genius in that move. When she watches other athletes act like Clark owes them a debt, it absolutely sets her off. During the offseason, Clark managed to pull in millions of dollars without wrecking her body. That isn't a betrayal, it is the ultimate blueprint. Instead of crying foul, Cunningham is basically telling her peers to sit down and take notes. Cunningham has also skirted the darker edge of this story. The president and vice president of the Players Union actually founded that unparalleled league. Naturally, there are rumors, whispers, and endless speculation that high-profile stars face massive political pressure to join up, solely to support the union leadership's private business venture. Saying no meant Clark risked angering union leadership. That is a highly dangerous game to play. As an independent thinker, Cunningham likely sees the blatant hypocrisy in all of this. If your union representatives are literally your off-season employers, how can they possibly fight for your best interests? It is a messy web of conflicting interests. When Cunningham speaks out about honesty, she is hinting that public narratives do not match private politics. She knows that Clark passing on the Unrivaled League was about far more than just a scheduling conflict. It is about freedom, and Cunningham values her own independence. Rumors and insider sources have pointed to deeply divided locker rooms across the league all year long. On one side are traditionalists who think the league was fine before she got here. On the other are Clark loyalists, mostly younger players, and business-minded veterans who see the bigger picture. Sophie Cunningham is in a pretty unique spot. She has served in her country's military, she belongs to the old school, and she is tough. But she is not blind. In fact, her recent outburst completely shattered the usual echo chamber inside that locker room. During interviews, she actively shuts down anyone trying to see Clark fail, flat out refusing to feed into racial or generational drama. She is proving you do not have to be a bitter hater off the court to be a fierce competitor on it. Cunningham has repeatedly taken on the responsibility of holding the media accountable. The whole Sophie hates Caitlyn narrative makes a ton of money for networks like ESPN and social media aggregators. They post a video of a hard play with absolutely no context, and they write bad blood in the caption. Just watch the exchanges right after the whistle, watch the handshakes after the game. There is genuine mutual respect there. Cunningham is taking back control of her own image by loudly shutting down these narratives. She flat out refuses to let herself be used as a media pawn to attack Clark. She is tearing up the media script by refusing to play the villain regarding the NBC News. They desperately wanted her bitter about Clark getting all that airtime. Instead, she is focusing on herself and getting ready for the new season, which basically validates Clark's big move because game recognized game. The Cards have always been in favor of the WNBA. The league controls the exposure, the schedules, and even the fines. But Clark has an NBC platform that might actually be bigger than the WNBA itself. And Sunday Night Football is literally the most popular show in America. Millions of people are going to hear it if Clark airs any WNBA grievances during that broadcast. Her megaphone is now completely uncensored by the league. This absolutely terrifies the old guard executives. Sophie Cunningham knows exactly how powerful that is, having already dealt with league politics and bad officiating herself. Her belief that athletes should maximize their own value aligns perfectly with Clark's big power play. The idea that players should just submit to the league is exactly what makes Cunningham explode. She represents the modern athlete, perfectly bold, stylish, and highly self-aware. She does not feel jealous at all. Instead, she feels vindicated seeing Clark use that leverage, proving players have real power when they are brave enough to use it. We cannot ignore the elephant in the room. A massive chunk of the talk around Clark has been tied to race. Critics claim her demographic is the sole reason for her massive popularity, while others argue the intense hate she receives is entirely motivated by race. It is a toxic, polarizing mix. Sophie Cunningham got caught in this crossfire, and people constantly accuse her of going after Clark. But by focusing purely on basketball, Cunningham consistently shuts down these racial baiting narratives. Her blunt honesty completely rejects these social think pieces. Instead of viewing Clark as a symbol, she simply treats Clark like a basketball player. By blocking out the noise and focusing on the actual business and the game, Cunningham exposes just how ridiculous the critics obsessed with identity politics really are. All she really wants is to hoop and get paid. And she sees Clark doing the exact same thing. Does this league lose its shine without Clark around? The league organizers are likely well aware of this, and that is where the resentment comes from. They completely relied on the Caitlin Clark stimulus package to lock in TV deals and sell out arenas. Without her, they are just another struggling startup league. It is huge that Cunningham is willing to admit this. She knows the league economics get incredibly tough without their golden child pulling the wagon. So when she hears other players bashing Clark, she probably gets furious, knowing those exact same athletes were counting on Clark's arrival to help boost their own paychecks. It is the ultimate hypocrisy, please come save our business, even though we cannot stand you. Cunningham is way too smart to watch that happen without rolling her eyes. Now, the dynamic has completely shifted ahead of this new WNBA season. Backed by the power of a massive media giant, Clark will return to the Indiana Fever, not just as a sophomore point guard, but as an official NBC broadcaster. She is completely untouchable now, and the era of rookie hazing is officially over. She won the war, and Sophie Cunningham knows it. Her way of adapting to this new reality is speaking out and completely refusing to play these petty games. She is essentially telling the rest of the league to get on board or get left behind. The players holding on to that bitterness are fighting a battle they have already lost. In this story, Sophie Cunningham was supposed to be the villain. The media cast her as the rival, the physical enforcer, and the enemy. But with Caitlin Clark's massive NBC announcement, Cunningham has transformed into something much more intriguing, a genuine truth teller. While Clark rejected their 3-on-3 league for the bright lights of network television, the rest of the WNBA waits in a jealous silence. Meanwhile, Cunningham has been totally honest. She has exposed the deep hypocrisy of a league that despises Clark's influence but loves her wealth. The false narratives and poor business sense of her contemporaries have basically caused her to explode. She has shown that she is not Clark's enemy by doing this. She simply respects the grind and is a fierce competitor. The game has honestly never been the same thanks to Caitlin Clark. And it seems only Sophie Cunningham has the courage to say that out loud. The WNBA has a choice to make. They really have two options. Either they listen to Sophie, swallow their pride, and appreciate the historic greatness unfolding right in front of them, or they can choose to stay resentful. Knowing this league, though, the drama is really just getting started.